Hey everybody, my name's Ethan. I'm excited you're here as we keep going in our series about friendships called Close Friends. Before we dig in today, I want to start by telling you one of my own friendship stories. Are you ready? All right. So, when I was about your age, I had this group of friends that I knew I shouldn't be hanging out with. My parents knew I shouldn't be hanging out with, but what did I do? We hung out together way too much. And one night, I got this text message way later than I would like to admit. They said, hey, if you can get out of your house right now, we're gonna go to this party together. So what do? I stayed no, I didn't. I got out of the house as soon as I possibly could. Then what happened is we went to this house. Come to find out, the police were already on the way, as were we. So when we get there, we were met by the police. Not a good look. What happened later was they called my parents. They called every parent in the group. I had more chores, I had more punishment than I could ever dream of. Needless to say, I never snuck out of the house again. But what I did learn in this is that my friendships really needed to change. Maybe you can relate. And if you can, I'm sure you learned the same valuable lesson I did. The people you hang around can have a big impact on your life. Think about it. What's the last bad decision you made? When's the last time you made a decision that got you in trouble? Maybe you knew it was wrong while you did it, or maybe you didn't. The point is, you made the choice, and then you got caught. You got in trouble. You got lectured. You got kicked off the team. Maybe you got exposed. You got punished, embarrassed. Maybe you even got detention. Whatever it was, you probably found yourself sitting in that consequence thinking, how could this happen to me? But here's the deal. The common denominator in all of those choices was you. Most of the bad choices we make and the negative consequences we experience, they don't just happen to us, we happen to them. We aren't just innocent bystanders, we're participants. But what's also true is that many of those decisions, they weren't made totally on our own. And a lot of times, the reason we did what we did is because there were other influences involved. There were people we cared about who were included. And whether the idea itself was innocent, malicious, playful, or ignorant, the people around us played a role in pushing us towards it. Sometimes those people are even the ones that we trust the most, our close friends. There have been moments when we have lied, we've tried something, we've gossiped about someone, we've acted nice to someone, we've acted mean to someone. We pretended to like something, we pretended to hate something. We did something good or we did something bad. And we wouldn't have done it if it hadn't been for the people who were around us. Yes, our friends have a direct impact on how we live. I'm not talking about just the little things of life. I'm talking about some of the really big areas too. And this isn't just true right now. Those close friends also have an impact on your future. The closer the friend, the more influence they have. We've all heard the stories of people who at a young age seemed to be heading in a positive direction in life. Then something happened and things begin to go downhill. What's interesting is that these stories tend to always go the same way. The person began to surround themselves with people who pulled them in the wrong direction. And just like that, everything changed. Here's what's interesting about this to me. When it comes to most of our major decisions, we put a lot of thought into them. We think about what classes to take, whether we want to go to college, where we want to live after graduation, what kind of car we're saving up for, who we like or who we'd want to date. We think about it, pray about it, and maybe even ask advice about it. But when it comes to who we allow into our inner circle, who we choose to be close friends, we don't always think much about it. Instead of being proactive, we tend to be reactive. Here's the bad news. Friends can pull us down, but here's the good news. They can also pull us up. Some of you have become better students, better athletes, and are better people because of your friends. They've encouraged you to try new things you normally wouldn't do, and those things have helped you improve as a person. That kind of close friendship is exactly what I want all of us to have. So let's talk about what it looks like to choose close friends who can do all of that and more. There's a book in the Old Testament of the Bible called Proverbs that speaks to the importance of deciding which friends you'll let influence your decisions. This book has some of the best advice you'll ever hear on just about any topic you could think of. The person who wrote the majority of it was Solomon. Solomon was considered one of the wisest people who ever lived. How did he get so wise? He asked God for wisdom and God gave it to him. That means we may have something to learn from him and his advice when it comes to his close friends. Here's what he said in Proverbs 12, verse 26. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Let's define the word righteous. It simply means people who do the right thing. It's about being a good decision maker, a wise decision maker. It's about people who make choices that take their future and the best interest of others into account. If we want to be right decision makers who do what's best for our future, Solomon says we need to choose our close friends carefully. Right decision makers pay attention to who their friends are because they know they need friends who are just as invested in their future as they are. They need friends who will help them stay on the right course. This doesn't mean that if you have a friend who doesn't always make the best decisions, you should drop them out of your life. I'm just saying that you should look at the people you're close to and who you spend the most time with. Ask yourself, are they leading me to a future that I'm proud of or to a future I don't want any part of? I understand that in high school, you can't always choose the kind of people who are around you. You can't control who has the same work schedule, lunch period, or sports interests as you. Or you may be thinking, I'm not on a team. The people I work with or the people in my lunch period, they don't even acknowledge that I'm alive. You may even say that you don't have any friends right now. I'm sorry, trust me, I've been there. There's nothing easy about that. But while that may be true right now, it won't always be this way. And the decisions you make right now when it comes to your friends can save you from a lot of potential pain in the future. That's because, like I said earlier, friends are a big deal. So when you're making decisions about who your friends will be, it's important to be intentional. And that's why Solomon told us to choose them carefully in the verse that we looked at. Solomon ends the verse by saying this, "But the way of the wicked leads them astray." This is basically just people who are the opposite of right decision makers. When we hear the word wicked, we may all think of different things. Hello, Ariana Grande and Cynthia Ervio. But what Solomon meant was someone who's done something wrong. They don't think about how their decisions will impact their future or the people around them. They think about themselves and they think about right now. They don't have your future or best interest in mind. When Solomon says that it leads them astray, he's basically referring to trouble. You may have a friend who is a good person and a ton of fun to be around, but you find yourself getting into trouble when you're with them. Your ability to make good decisions with them, it just goes away. Or maybe you haven't gotten busted yet, but if you were caught doing some of the things you did together, it would be a lot of trouble. Or maybe after you hang out with them, you just feel kind of gross, like something is off. You may even feel that way when you're with them and you just try to ignore it, but it's there. That's the Holy Spirit that God has placed inside of you. That's the nudging that maybe this is not the best place for you, that maybe by hanging out with this person, you're forgetting who you really are, who God made you to be. This is why I don't think we should ask the question, is this friend good or bad? Instead, I think we should ask this, is this friend a good influence on my life right now? If the answer is no, it doesn't mean it'll be like that forever. There's hope for everyone to get on the right track. It doesn't mean you'll never interact with them. It just means that you change the amount of influence that you give them in your life. Here's another way to think about this. Okay, hang on a second. Imagine that this dartboard represents your friendships. The closer to the bullseye, the closer to you as a friend. So this inner circle, it represents the people who have the most influence in your life. As you build your closest friendships moving forward, look for people who influence you in a positive and healthy way. Put those people closest to the bullseye. If someone doesn't influence you in a positive way, you can still talk to them, you can still care about them and pray for them, but you want the best influences in your life to be closest to the bullseye in your life. Jesus had the same kind of pattern with his own friendships. When you read the New Testament, you see he had levels of influence among his friends and his followers. He had huge crowds that followed him. He had 12 disciples, but he had 3 that he was closest to. Think about it this way. The friends you choose impact the future you will have. Now, again, some of you may be thinking, I don't even have someone to put on the dartboard. I don't even play darts. I get it. And like I said, I've been there. Friendships will come and go throughout the course of your life. Things will change and there will be seasons of unknown. But one day, you will have friends. Things won't always look the way they do now. The truth is the same for all of us. If we want close friendships, either today or one day in the future, then we need to be friends with people who care about our future and influence us in a positive way. Because the friends you choose impact the future you'll have. A few things I'd love for you to do, considering what we just talked about. Pray for great friends. In another verse from Proverbs, Solomon says this, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. That's Proverbs 27:17. This just means the right kind of close friends make us better. They sharpen us. Of course, the right kind of friend doesn't mean a friend who is exactly like us. In fact, it's good to be friends with people who think differently and look differently than you. People who see the world differently from us, who have a different experience in the world, have something to teach us. What matters most isn't that you share everything in common. What matters is that you share the right things in common. Ask yourself important questions about your friends. In fact, you can ask these questions about yourself while you're at it. The reason we do this is so that we can become more intentional about who we let influence us. Ask questions like this. Can you count on them to be right decision makers? Do they make not just right decisions, but wise decisions? Are they always caught up in drama? Do they seem to constantly be living in the fallout of bad decisions? Do they have your best interest in mind? Do they treat other people well? Depending on how you answer those questions, there may be friends you need to take a couple of steps back from. If you're feeling this, we're going to talk about how to do this next time. There may even be friends you need to take a couple of steps toward, but whatever it is, you need to be the one who decides what happens next. Don't be passive, be intentional. Remember, the friends you choose impact the future you will have. I believe that God wants us to have life-giving, sharpening friendships, the kind of friendships where we can see God at work in the relationship. So invite God into your journey of building close friendships and ask God to help you be a close friend to others. Being and having a close friend is good for you right now and in the future. Just remember, this doesn't happen overnight. These kinds of friendships take work, but believe me, the work is worth it if it gets you the right close friends in the end. Being and having a close friend is good for you right now and in the future. Just remember, this doesn't happen overnight. These kinds of friendships, they take work, but believe me, the work is worth it if it gets you the right close friends in the end.